Here we are, ladies and gents, having another conversation, right? Another casual conversation. So today I have Melissa Reynolds on the phone with me, or on Zoom with me, and we're going to talk about all the things. We were just discussing what things we should talk about. And I said, wow, we could go business or motherhood, or, I follow her on Instagram and I had the pleasure of meeting her in real life and kind of how she embodies this confidence in both physical form, emotional, physical, spiritual, and how that kind of has transformed not only her life, but her business. So Melissa is a photographer in Montana. She has 5 kiddos, right?
Yeah, 5.
All right. So I'm going to hand it off to you. If you would go ahead and just introduce yourself and kind of what it is that you do. And then I'm just going to ask you questions. We're just going to have a conversation.
Okay. Put a girl on the spot. Some days you're like you're totally ready to go all in, and other days you're like, what's my name again? And I think today is one of those days where I'm like, what's my name? But I'm still going. So anyways, I am Melissa Reynolds of MK Photography. And my other alias is the Body Talk Girl, because I'm starting a YouTube for that. But that's another conversation we'll get into later. But I am a portrait photographer here in Butte, Montana. And I specialize in women photography of basically all ages. Even though I don't exclude men, I still photograph men. But I guess I've been a portrait photographer and wedding photographer for, I'm going on 12 years. And I feel so old in this space, but yet I feel so young. And as my business evolves, I've just been more drawn to other moms and other women, and realizing that all of us really want to feel our beauty, but so often we don't see it in ourselves. And a lot of times women are the ones hiding behind the cameras and taking photos of their kids and taking care of everyone else. I have been in that boat too, but I ended up losing myself a lot. And this was around the time you met me, Sasha. I was pregnant with my 4th child, and I was kind of at the end of my rope, I'd say. I was like, I have this vision of what I want to do with my life, but I don't know how to get there. And I was having my 4th kid. I hid my pregnancy from all of my wedding clients up until 2 weeks before I was due. And so I'd show up on a wedding like 9 months pregnant. I don't recommend that, but
Oh my God.
I had a lot of shame around having 4 kids so close, and a lot of fear of, what are people going to say? Do they think I can't do the job? What if they want to book someone else? And all these stories in my head. And I just, reached out to Heather of Mamas in Control. And I talked with you too, Sasha. And I was like, I need help in this mom department and businesswoman department. And here I am, almost a year and a half later, and 2 kids later. How does that happen? And I feel so much more free to help myself and to help other women through this journey of really finding my worth and feeling beautiful and being okay to want to feel that way as well.
I love that. So I want to go back a little bit farther though, because I don't even know if I know the answer to this question. And that is like, why photography? Like, what drew you to photography? I mean, you've been doing it for 12 years, but what started the journey?
Yeah. So it actually started, I would say my career started back in like 2nd grade. That's where it all started, was when at a very young age, even in kindergarten, I was so drawn to what made people beautiful physically, I asked my mom if I could learn to curl my hair for kindergarten. And so I would go home and practice after school, supervised by her, and curl my own hair so that someday I could curl it all by myself without her. And so, by first grade, I was curling my hair and I wanted to wear makeup, but my mom said no. So I'd say that's where it started. But me and my mom made homemade dresses for us, and we would dress up in these homemade dresses. And at the beer garden at the county fair, they had cardboard cutouts of a bull rider called Tough Hedeman and my favorite country singer ever, George Strait. And so I asked if I could take him home after the fair. And the guy said, yeah, well, little Miss Melissa and her best friend Hannah would dress up in my homemade Christmas dresses my mom made and do our hair and makeup pretty and pose next to George Strait, cardboard cutout with a wind-up camera. And I have looked so hard for those photos, and I have faith that I'm going to find them still, but that's where it started. And then it kind of evolved into, for fun, what I would do is I would go outside the box and do crazy things with my hair and makeup after school at home. That's like what I liked to do. I always thought maybe I'd want to do hair and makeup for people, but my cousin needed senior pictures and she was homeschooled, and my dad had this old camera, not super old, probably like 70s, so old to me. And I took her senior photos with it. And my dad was really the person who almost, I would say, gave me confidence at that age to really pursue something that made me happy, because I did her hair and makeup. And I was like, ooh, look how beautiful you look and all this stuff. And the photos turned out really awesome for someone who's never picked up a camera. And my dad just said, you have something here. If you really love it, maybe you should think about this. And that's really where it started. And I went to school for photography and started my business 2 years out of high school.
So what did business look like when you first started? Because you were probably like 20?
Yeah, I was 20. I didn't go to a real college because I wasn't 21 yet.
What's a real college?
I want to say like where you could drink. I didn't have the real college experience of like drinking we did drink, but like going to a bar and like the social aspect. Like it was like I was still in high school. Like we'd go to a house party and we had to find someone old enough to buy beer. It was terrible. But so I when I first started my business, that was my wild phase because I was really out on my own. But I first started my business and I had little bits of clients here and there. I just started booking them, but it was very, one thing you don't learn is how to price yourself in college. And I think that was probably the start of my worthiness. One of the starts of my worthiness issues in my business was because I literally had no guidance of how to price myself and value what my service and what I could offer people. So it was a lot of shoot and burn, a lot of, oh my gosh, is $20 too expensive for an 8x10? It was a lot of give. And late nights, early mornings, those first years of my business, when I say first years, I'm like talking all the way up until, Gus, I was pregnant with Gus, or even after Gus was born and he's 5, I would pull all-nighters editing and then take a shower the next morning and keep going. Terrible idea.
That's crazy. Okay. So then,
yeah.
You struggle, I guess, with the pricing issue, which I think everybody kind of struggles with that, especially in the beginning. Like I remember when I first started out, just coaching and doing events and things like that. I'm like, is anybody even going to come? Is $5 too much? Should I do it for free or should I do it? So how did you work through all that?
Well, I'm going to be totally honest with you. I'm still working through it. I feel like I have finally come to a point where I have 5 kids later, and it's like, when you hear something and you don't get what you needed from it, like there was this photographer I used to love way back in the day, and I just finally came back around to her, and she started popping up in my newsfeed again, and I was like, oh my God, like, why haven't I been listening to this? Because it's a work in progress for me to feel worthy, even though I'm worthy no matter what. I have to really keep that in check. And so when it comes to pricing, I was basically projecting it onto everyone else. Please buy my photos because that means like I'm worthy. I'm worth it. Like I'm not, my work isn't bad. My work is great, you know? I think as a photographer, as a visual artist, you know, as a service provider, any business owner really, like if people come to you, that gives you a sense of confidence. But sometimes when you're raising your prices, and you really need to raise your prices too, because you're feeling burnout, you're feeling like you're giving way too much, and you're feeling like you're working way too much, and you're putting your family on the back burner, you really have to keep that worthiness in check and really have confidence showing people what you can give them and how they're going to benefit. And it doesn't start with, well, let me give you a deal. You know, I've realized like, you know, when I pay for an experience, it's an experience that I'm paying for. It's not necessarily the final product that I'm paying for. It's how that person made me feel. What did they give me that I brought into other aspects of my life? And when I started actually charging where I felt I was, I don't want to say comfortable, it was actually uncomfortable, but I felt relieved, because it wasn't like I had to like book 10 million people and not give them the best Melissa. It was, I could book 5 people and give the best of me to these people. When I started doing that, I started to see a change in my clients and how they went home that night to their spouses. I started to see a change in their presence online. I started to just see, it was almost like a ripple effect of confidence. And I have clients tell me that now, like they'll say, after my photo shoot with you, that's when I really felt very powerful and I made the change that I needed to do. Or, you know, after talking with me and realizing I wanted a photo shoot, that's when I realized that, you know, having a photo shoot with you was really important to me.
I love that. I think maybe the photos are just a benefit, because I feel like people, and I'm at this new office, so there's like trains, planes, and automobiles going by. I swear I say this on every freaking podcast, where I'm like, this is Grand Central Station here in small town Iowa. Jesus Christ.
Right.
But I feel like people are, and this may be right or wrong, but like they're paying to be in your like presence, really, like, because you're giving them an experience. Like, not to say that you can go to like the next person to get a photo, because I mean you can and you can't, but like they're paying for your skill and for how you are going to make them feel when it's done. So you're very much selling a feeling. Would you agree?
I totally agree with that, because I mean, when you think about it, and you're selling like a tangible product. For instance, okay, I had a really bad experience with a photographer once, and I've done a lot of work on it because it still bothers me. How crazy is that, right? And I realized like she was probably going through her own stuff at that point. And I was like, okay, so I had an amazing photo shoot, but on the back end, which is where us photographers a lot of times do fall short, it was like totally made me feel like she didn't care about getting me my photos, right? Or care about editing them beautifully, or care about making me feel beautiful. And I was like, oh my gosh, like the experience you have with someone from start to finish is very, very important, because from that moment on, I realized the hurt that I felt was really an insecurity on my part, not to hold boundaries with people, you know, voice up for what I expected and stuff, before the photo shoot even happened. So it really gave me an eye opener to how I even treat my clients and how I walk into the shoot and how I end the shoot, because I want someone to feel their value when they're coming in to my studio to pay me to take beautiful photos of them. I want to have an equal energy back to them because I value them just as much as they value me. And it's a kind of an exchange of energy. And I would say, like, because of the process that my clients go through now, I have a way better rate of people just really enjoying the experience. It's right for them, because not everyone is to the point where this is right for them.
So what do you tell those people, like, for example, who are just out there, like, price shopping? Because, I mean, you do have, maybe you don't have those clients, but I know that there's clients out there, people out there who are just price shopping. Like, how do you not attract those type of people?
Well, you still do. And something that can get in your head as a business owner is, oh, I'm too expensive. I'm too expensive. I had 10 people saying no this week that they can't do it, you know? And so that starts to get in your head of, am I worth this? But what I have to realize is it's a no right now. They were the ones who reached out to me for a reason, because my photos spoke to them. Okay. And I have to remember that, because when someone is saying no and I so bad want them to be a yes, you know as well as I do, dragging people across the finish line never ends pretty.
Nope.
And it's never empowering. There's usually
Nope.
resentment. There's usually it's draining, usually, the relationship. So when I can talk to someone and it's a no after I tell them everything that they're going to be getting from my photo sessions, not all that I'm giving, but what they are going to be getting, and it's still a no, I have to say, you know where to find me. It was a lovely talking with you. And I look forward to the day we get to work together, because I know it's going to be amazing. So put it on your fridge in 6 months to call me. And I really want to see where you're at.
I love that. That is very empowering. And I 100% agree. And I say this all the time to people, you know, just because it's a no today doesn't mean it's a no later. And just because it's not right for them doesn't mean that they're not going to tell their friends that it may be a right fit for them. You know, I always try to treat every experience or interaction, and I'm assuming you probably do something very similar to this, but you treat every experience or every interaction you have with a guest or a client or a prospect, whatever that looks like, and to make them feel good, right? Because if you can make somebody feel good, they're going to remember how they felt when they left your building or left that phone call or walked out of your office. They may not remember the actual logistics of your conversation. They won't remember who, what, where, when, why, how, but they'll be like, damn, I really felt like she cared. Like, I felt good when I left there. And that's what's going to stick with them forever. Just like your bad reaction to that photographer experience that you had, like, that will be with somebody forever.
Yeah. And it comes back to, like, what I tell my kids every day is you have to treat people how you want to be treated. Like, me and Gus have this conversation every day after he sits on his brother's head when his brother's crying, and he's crying and Gus knows he's crying. And I'm like, okay, like, you have to treat people how you want to be treated. Like, I'm sorry. Like, when someone calls you a name, then I'm not going to feel bad for you when you come crying, because you told me that it's okay if people call you names.
No.
Okay. And he's 5, by the way. These are conversations we have in our household.
Start them young.
Yeah. And I say words like, be accountable to your actions and stuff like that. But I have to start practicing. And that's where I realized with my journey over the past 2 years of working with Heather and working with you and working with Amanda, is this is really deep rooted in not only me, but other women, of this worthiness aspect where we're so hot, cold, where we're so all in, all out, where we don't even know we're not brave enough to stand up for what we really do believe in. And I want to say, stand up in, like, showing your children what you believe in, not blasting it on Facebook, and acting in what you believe in. That's where I feel a lot of women are finding worthiness issues, is because they're looking at everyone's highlight reel, like everyone says, and you're comparing your everyday life. It happens to me. I happen to do that as well. So what needs to change? What needs to change is that Melissa needs to have more boundaries around the people she surrounds herself with, around the conversations going on in her head, around the conversations of her with her kids, her with her clients, and really coming from a place of gratitude of where I am, even if it's not a place I want to be in my business or in my life, but a place of gratitude. And the only reason I'm here is because I'm supposed to learn something here so I can get to the next level, because I haven't mastered something here yet. And I got to figure out how to master it. And usually you know what that is. Like, that's the other thing, is usually you're going to know deep down of where you need to work on in your life. Maybe it's your marriage, maybe it's your finances, maybe it's your self-confidence. I would say a lot of it comes back to self. You have to start with self. Yourself with your money story, yourself with your husband, but not expecting people around you to change. Just say, how can I be a better person in this relationship? Because a rising tide will rise all ships. So if you were being genuine, kind, loving without overgiving and having your own boundaries, the relationship is going to benefit. And it may not look how you want it to, but the relationship is going to benefit in ways of, you're not going to get treated the way that you let people treat you before, or you're going to be able to see where you weren't giving your spouse the love and attention that they needed, and they needed in order for your relationship to grow. Stuff like that.
I agree. And as you're saying this, like, the two things that come to mind are, one, how do you filter through all the bullshit society says, all the bullshit expectations that other people place on us, that we place on ourselves, and how do you navigate those inner thoughts? Because I even had this this conversation with myself this morning about commitment. Like, I've really been on this, I'm going to be committed, I'm going to be disciplined, because anyways, and I caught myself saying, it's okay to be a slacker, give yourself a break. But if we don't catch those thoughts, we can't turn them around. So how do we cut through the bullshit, and how do you navigate that, like, inner negative talk?
Well, as per usual, the first thing is always, it's always going to come back to being aware first and foremost. If you choose to be aware, which I have conversations with women every day, and they're like, I know. And I'm like, that's probably the most dangerous place to be, because and you're not deciding to change. So you can't grow. Mm-hmm. And I've really found my voice being able to tell people the hard stuff, because I've seen so many, like, I had a young woman in here in my studio back in October. And I mean, having a hard conversation with her about her life in general, and, how it was affecting her marriage. And really it was miscommunication, because, sometimes you think that you're communicating with someone and you're not. But if you're not taking action to be aware of what you're doing, and always saying, well, they're reacting this way, well, yada, 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 I can't because of all these outwardly things, because life happens. People have a bad day and they project it onto you. But if you're not taking action on the awareness that you already know, then you're not going to be able to receive the life that you want. You're not going to be able to, you're not in a place where you can receive it. You just can't.
Yeah. And learning to receive and accept and allow is a whole nother thing. For me, it's almost like a form of self-sabotage, not allowing, like, things to be given to me, because we as women, or we as mothers, tend to give, right?
Yep.
But then when somebody offers help, it's, no, I don't need it. I'm fine. At least that's my story. I mean, can you relate to that or no?
I used to. I used to very much. And it still leaks into aspects of my life. I have figured out how to ask for help with my children which I never was able to do. And when people say I can't find a babysitter, I'm like, bullshit or bull crap, because I live out in the middle of nowhere and I have found women more than happy to take my baby, more than happy to take my kids. Today, I had Tilly with me at work. One of a girl that is just a sweetheart of a girl, an assistant, has helped me out in so many ways. I did a photo shoot of her last week. She came up to give me a gift. I have received so many client gifts this week. I feel so blessed. She came up to give me a gift and I said, here, throw this outfit on. Let me put some red lips on you. I got to practice my lighting. And so she posed for me. And then she's like, oh, can I take Tilly? And I was like, sure, I'll pick her up at 4.
Oh my God, that is awesome.
You have to let people know. And I trust her with my kids. She's watched my kids before. You have to let people know that they can have a relationship with your kids. And that's something that I've also learned is it's okay for people to have a relationship with your kid. If you trust them and care, I think it's amazing to let my kids go with people because my kids are very independent people. And we always talk when they get home too. Like, how was your day? What did you guys do? On the car ride home, I could turn up the music. I could turn on a podcast. I have to force myself to put it on airplane mode and say, hey guys, what was your favorite part about daycare? Rides home are the most important thing to me to connect with my kids because as they get older, I know they're not going to want to talk. So I have to keep that communication open to receive a relationship with them as well. And accepting help from other women has just been mind-blowing. It's almost like I subconsciously challenged myself to say, how much help can I receive? Now I'm personally, if we're being personal here, now I'm working on receiving money this year. But the past couple of years, I've learned on how to receive help. And it wasn't like just meditating every morning, because you can get in that. You can get in that rut too, where you're just like, oh, it's not coming. I journal about it every day and I tap about it every day. Well, what are you doing after tapping? Did you make that phone call to someone who maybe can connect you to a person? Did you go to that woman's group that you've been avoiding because you simply don't have time? Because one of them might be able to watch your kids for you while you build your business on the side. And then you can, once you get your stuff under wraps, you can help other women. That's what I've really learned is you really honestly have to rise to the occasion first and get past a point, which you're always going to be learning, but you could help the people who are maybe 2 steps behind you. And that helps you too.
Yeah. Otherwise, I find that if you're just out there following whoever's the next person throwing together a build your course in 3 easy steps, because that's what course I just did. It's like the blind leading the blind and nobody comes out ahead.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I don't want to say you're pawning your kids off, because that's how I felt at some points. But I really had to challenge myself to tell people, hey, you'll let me know if you can't do this, right? Because it's totally fine. I will find someone, and have that honest conversation with people. Because women, we are people pleasers. Sometimes we always usually are putting ourselves last. And that's a part of what my work is about, is a freaking fun-filled day where you get banging photos of yourself. And what my big challenge is in my industry right now in body positivity is I see people almost using their body on Instagram and Facebook to say, look how beautiful I am, instead of saying, oh my gosh, I was so happy in this photo at that moment. And I encourage every woman to take care of themselves and, do something like this, because I see a lot of photographers with a style that I don't feel embraces women's beauty. It almost degrades it. And in my business, for me, I feel like a personal challenge to myself is to say, how do I do this in a beautiful, classy way that you're going to be so excited to share with everyone? Like even your kids.
So what is it that you're seeing that's a little, what word did you use?
Gosh, I would almost say like there's a lack of knowledge of, how do I say it? Like, gosh, I'll probably get 10,000 hate messages after this. But
I'm all about pissing people off. It's fine.
Right? I see a lot of photographers using this market to women to fix them and say, look how beautiful you look.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
Like,
absolutely.
Instead of letting women rise to the occasion to work through their shit and end up in your studio and help them along in that process and celebrate how far they've come in this world, as a celebration shoot, not I need a pick-me-up shoot.
Yeah. I feel like that's what's out there right now, though, is, hey, come to me and I'm going to make you look beautiful. And then we show all these images. And, I even seen somebody share on social media today. They were like the most physically fit. They had their hair all done and everything. And they were at like the peak of whatever that looked like in their life. And on the inside, they felt empty because they were just doing it for what other people thought they should be doing. They didn't truly feel beautiful from the inside.
Yeah. Yeah. And that happens a lot. Like, I mean, you know me, because I learned from you doing phone consultations with people. I about shit my pants. And I learned a lot of things on the way. If someone's not ready, it's going to be almost more damaging, to be honest.
Yeah, really. I mean, doing them a disservice by convincing them that they need something that's not necessarily right for them. And I could go on a whole tangent on that whole sales conversation on people selling things that they don't necessarily need, but really it is. It's a disservice to kind of push those things on people.
It is. And when you're trying to learn how to sell too, you're really trying to get the sale. But I think with working with you, I've really realized that instead of trying to sell, you need to hear people. You need to understand where people are coming from. I think the biggest objection people have, especially with me, is the money, because it's not to get beautiful images of yourself. It is an investment, and it should be an investment. It should be something that you should celebrate and want to spend money on. It shouldn't be something that is a pick-me-up. It should be a freaking celebration, okay? And anything worth doing, usually there's a risk involved. And as a photographer, I can tell you that, like, if someone walked into my studio and said, I hate all of my photos, I wouldn't shut down and say, well, you just can't see it. I would say, really, tell me about that. And let them talk. And sometimes people have this really distorted view of their body, have a really distorted view of who they used to be, and they still see that in photos. And whether it be like overweight or not seeing themselves as pretty. And, it's really interesting when you start listening to people, especially women, because there's a lot of power in taking a beautiful photo of someone and letting them see their beauty. And there's also a lot of power in, as a business owner, letting people see themselves as beautiful and taking the risk of, this person may not see what I see in them. I've had that happen once in the past year, where it was a really hard sales conversation. She ended up buying my middle package, but she had a really hard time seeing herself as beautiful. And I find when people are in that sales room, it is really hard for women to look at photos of themselves, because there's a deep-rooted belief it could be the most beautiful photo of them and they could still pick it apart. But what an amazing opportunity to say, oh my gosh, like, yeah, maybe my eye looks a little funny. That's me personally, because I have a lazy eye, but I'm still beautiful. And I still want this photo. And I'm still going to pay for this photo because I love this photo. You could always find something wrong with a photo, but what are you teaching your children? To pick apart every single photo, and it needs to be absolutely perfect.
Yep. So there's two things that come to mind. And the first one is like with the picking yourself apart. So I have a couple of young ones. My daughter will be 3 here coming up. And she just, any mom can relate. You kind of got a little bit of skin after you have some kiddos. Nothing goes right back to where it needs to be or where it was. Shouldn't say needs to be, where it once was. And that's okay, and so there's some things that jiggle a little bit more. And she thinks that is like the coolest thing in the world. We call it my little like love bagel because my stomach can take the shape of a bagel. And she just thinks that it is awesome, but if I were sitting there going, oh, don't touch that, that's mom's fat or whatever, she would look at her stomach and be like, oh, that's not okay. But we just kind of embrace it. It's just skin. It's just fat. It's my stomach. It's part of who I am. And that's okay. And that's took me a long time to be okay with the shape of my body, which leads me to the next thing is these photos that you're taking, this experience, this moment that you're capturing. In this moment, somebody may look at that photo and be like, ugh, I look this way or I look that way. But then 10 years from now, they're going to look back on that photo and say, oh, I wish I would have loved myself more. It's such like a catch, like seriously, like hindsight 2020, right? I look back at pictures of me when I was like 18 or 20 and I was scrawny and drunk and like stupid. And I just say to myself, like, I wish I would have loved myself more then, and even then at 120 pounds soaking wet, I thought I was fat. And now I am nowhere near 120 pounds and I feel way better about myself than I have in years.
Yeah. And it is such a catch-22 because that is exactly what happens. People say, they say, I don't know why I was so mean to myself back then, but here's the awareness part. They're saying that, but then they're like, I need to lose 10 pounds before I do the shoot with you, Melissa. And I'm like, you're doing the same thing and you're not even seeing that.
Yes. And that's like that magical destination that people think they're going to reach at some point in time. And it's like, no, you are worthy now. You deserve whatever it is that you want in life now. And I don't even really like the word deserve because then it puts some like stipulation on it that you have to be quote unquote this or that to be able to have that thing. If you want it, you should go get it. And it's okay to feel good now. You don't have to wait till you're 20 pounds lighter until you get to that whatever goal. Because once you get there, you're going to find something else that's going to hold you back,
Yeah, exactly. And that's, I remember, gosh, when I was working with Heather at one point, when I was really starting to do the work, and I did not realize how hard, and I want to say hard because it was hard to do the work. And I remember folding or putting clothes in the laundry because I was like, oh my gosh, I have to do laundry every day. Like, this is so exhausting. And I remember thinking, do I want to live this life? And it was so weird because it was like for the first time in my life, I actually saw what it took to get to the life that I wanted. And it was not staring at the laundry pile and saying, oh, it should be done. Oh, I need to do that. It was actually like doing the work. And I was like, holy fridge crackers, this is hard. And I was standing there debating if this is the life I wanted to live. And looking back, I'm so glad that I kept going because that was fear saying, look how hard this is. Look at how exhausted you are doing this, which that wasn't even true because I felt amazing after the laundry was folded and I actually put it away. And then I had a clean mind to play with my kids or take them for a walk and not be thinking about all the stuff I should be doing. The same thing for my clients. I mean, people say, oh, I really want a photo shoot with you. I want a day, Melissa, to feel absolutely gorgeous. And yet they're not to a place where either they haven't felt enough pain to want that. And I want to say felt enough pain. They don't want to rise to the occasion to, they almost are waiting for it to get totally bad before they do something about it.
People wait until they're in a life or death situation before they will actually make change. Until the pain level becomes unbearable, people will not change.
Yeah. And what I've realized is the women walking through my doors, a lot of times it's months of talking to them, and it's not saying, hey, you're ready to do a photo shoot. It's like, hey, I see that you're not posting on Facebook. What's up? What's going on? You know, it's reaching out to women to check on them. We're a community, whether you view it like that or not, but we're here to help people, and we're here to help women and let them know you're not alone in this. But even more so, I know, and I see a woman who can get through this and has an amazing gift to give and receive on the other end of this hard thing you're going through. And so many times, like now, people who walk through my doors, they've already gone through that hard part. And most of them are like, I just realized I had to face that hard conversation. I had to let myself want to enjoy this with you. And the results are just amazing because it's deeper than the photos. It's usually they're starting to feel their self-worth. And that's when they're ready to come to me, is because they're already taking action and feeling the worth that was God given to them, whether they fold the laundry or not. But they feel closer to that worthiness. I would say that we're always born with the worthiness. But to really feel the worthiness, there's going to be actions to take, and it's going to be different for everyone, but they're going to make you feel closer to your worthiness.
So what steps, like what actual steps did you take, and what actual steps would you suggest to the person listening to this that may be struggling with body image or confidence, or, you know, getting outside their comfort zone?
Okay. So first, I would say you have to get really real with your thoughts in your head about your body and about who you are as a person. Because there's so many subconscious thoughts going through our mind that you don't even realize it. I actually wrote, I think one of the most powerful things you could do is write a letter to yourself through your child's eyes, guiding you and telling you why you're beautiful and what they wish for you. That tends to be really powerful because a child can see the beauty in us when we can't, because children are authentic. Children are real, and children see beauty in most everyone. Children can feel energy. And when it comes to their mom, I mean, I looked up to my mom as the most beautiful woman in the world. You know, I'm going to cry watching her put on her makeup in the morning and take care of herself when she goes out in public and take pride in that. Not necessarily say, she wouldn't ever hide and say, oh, I can't go out in public because my hair's not done and I don't feel good. She would take the action steps to make herself feel amazing and head out that door. And my mom struggled for many years with her wrinkles. And at 68 years old, she's always contemplating facelift, Botox, all this. And she's like, I'm at a place where I really want to see if I can embrace these wrinkles. And I'm pretty proud of her because that was her biggest, that was the one thing that she was very, very, very self-conscious of. And she's at 68 years old now learning how to embrace a physical thing about herself without having to put a Band-Aid over it or try to make it different. It's really like just taking gratitude in enjoying taking care of her body and her face. So write a letter to yourself from your kids' eyes of why you deserve all the things that you want in your life. You might be surprised. That would probably be number one, because it's very emotional as a mom, and humbling, because we want to believe it and we need to start feeling it in order to take action. That would probably be the first step, I would say.
I like that. I love that you even shared the story about your mom, because it just shows that it's never too late to try, right? So whether you're 15, 35, 65, you can choose to love yourself where you're at and embrace your body for what it is and what it's all, what's it done for you, you know?
Yeah.
What it's done for you. I kind of said that backwards.
Yeah. And there's no shame in wanting a beautiful photo of yourself where you're embracing your lumps and bumps, but they're not the forefront of your photo. The forefront of your photo is, in my eyes as like an artist, it is in the eyes. And that's why getting looks on people's faces where they're not plastering a big old cheesy smile, but they're not super serious and trying to be sexy. It's like this beauty in the eyes that's saying there's something deeper in here. When you can get that captured when someone's looking into your camera, it's like photo gold, because it's a look that comes and goes.
How do
and
you
it's beautiful.
capture that? Like, do you just like, I'm sure it's probably from your decade plus of photography, but I'm like, I am terrible when it comes to photos. Like I will gladly pay somebody to do my photos for me. But how do you capture that? Do you just like know? Is it intuitive, or is there like a look like?
So it's, you know what I've realized, because I'm still learning as well. I have realized that it really comes down to the energy. Unless you're a professional model can turn it on and off. Or someone who's natural at it, right? Most of my clients are not natural. They are very awkward, and they will tell you that. I hate photos of myself. That is my favorite client, because that's someone I can win for life.
I'm the awkward person. Like, I have my sister take my photos a lot of the time, and she'll say like, why you gotta be so awkward? I'm like, that's just my personality.
Yeah. So boudoir and glamour is so different because it's a one-on-one. And it's really honing in on people's feelings. And I realized once I changed my energy in the room, that's when things change. And doing a boudoir shoot is just as exhausting as a wedding, in the sense of you have to be on and engaging with people. It's actually more exhausting than weddings, because you have to be on and engaging with people and getting looks from people. And going deep with people and letting people feel things that they haven't allowed themselves to feel, because most women don't say, oh, I want to look sexy in this photo. They say, I want to look happy in this photo. I try not to use the word sexy. I try to use the word powerful, beautiful, unforgettable. You got to use empowering language with women to get them to feel it. And sometimes, like, having people close their eyes and say, think in your mind the last time you felt super powerful. And I'm going to guide you of when I want you to look up into my camera, but I want you to feel that right now. And I want you to kind of say that word over and over and over in your head and look up at me now. And it's a lot in the eyes. In photo competitions, we always talk about they're dead in the eyes. And there's a reason why we say that, is because emotion is a lot of points when you're getting judged technically. Emotion trumps everything almost. It's at the top of the level in the grading scale of the 12 elements of photography.
Oh, that's very interesting.
So if you can get emotion and all of the technical aspects right, as far as posing and lighting and composition, there's 12 of them. Then you are a master. You are good at what you do. I am working on that. It's a lifelong thing. Some people get it faster than others. I'm a slow learner, I realize, but that's not going to stop me from learning. Like, I'm 12 years in business and just now learning how to run a profitable business. It's not going to stop me. And really getting truly honest with the shame that I had around posing. I mean, around people think a certain thing of me, whether it be, oh, she's successful, or, oh, she's too expensive, or, oh, she's not that good. You know, all of that stuff filters into what you think about yourself. And me being honest with myself now to address areas in my life, in my business that I want to change. Once you voice it, it's so freeing. I voice it to my husband, voice it in a safe space where someone's going to let you have your thoughts and let you have your voice to let something out of your system that you've been holding in for years. And once you voice it, and I have to voice it over and over sometimes, it has less power over me. And I'm more apt to change my actions.
Yeah. It's like once we bring the awareness to, bring the light to the dark, it's not so scary.
Yeah, for sure.
So before we wrap things up, I want to ask you a couple things. What do you want to leave listeners with today? I know we kind of covered a lot of topics. So what do you want to leave our listeners with?
Let me think here. I'm not going to try to go super deep.
You can go in for as shallow as you want.
Get pretty photos of yourself. Dang it. No. I think since I am a photographer, something that I'm really learning to help others with is let yourself be celebrated. Let yourself be celebrated just as you, Sasha, not as Sasha the mom or Sasha the wife. Let yourself be celebrated just as you. And don't hide behind all of your roles as a mom or wife, because once you stop hiding behind those roles of what you give everyone else, you're truly able to stand up on your own 2 feet and be a leader to those around you and help them be more confident in their life.
That was perfect. That was perfect. I know I needed to hear that. I'm sure other people need to hear that too. I think we can get so caught up in the who am I to this person? Who am I to that person? And we like to put a label on everything or put a role on everyone, or how many things can I do? And you see these things. And I just saw a meme the other day that said your worth is not based on your productivity. And man, did that hit home.
Yeah.
I love it.
It's something that we sometimes say, oh, well, I do believe that, as like, you're like killing yourself to get the last like photo edited, before you have to go home, and putting yourself in a bad spot before, you meet your kids or something. I mean, it's a work in progress, and it always will be, but the more grace you give yourself to let yourself fail forward or fail many times and get back up just to say, I learned something important from that. Thank you so much. And change your actions from there. There really, once you learn there really is no failing, there's just lessons. It changes the game.
Absolutely.
So yeah.
How can our listeners get a hold of you? How can they learn more or book a boudoir session? What's coming up?
Well, right now, what I'm working on is I'm working on doing a mother's legacy for Mother's Day. And I'm going to be focusing on adult women getting sessions with their mom. And, maybe adding a kid in at the end or something. But really, my VIP day will be you and your mom just indulging in this beautiful experience to appreciate each other and how far you've come, and get just pampered for the whole day and have a spa experience at the end. That's what I'm working on, valuing the relationships that I think are important in our lives. And as a photographer, documenting it in portraiture, in beautiful, beautiful, classy portraiture is where I think I will strive. So that's what I'm working on.
That's awesome. Okay. So can they go, or can you let us know your Instagram, your website, or?
Yeah. So I'm working on updating my website. My website has mostly wedding stuff on it, but you can find me on Instagram and Facebook. I have my Instagram handle is mkatephotography. And you can find me on Facebook too. There's a couple M. Kate photographies, but I'm the naked girl in the kitchen sink. Or do you guys all just hear me say about this classy stuff? You could do naked classy. It's in a kitchen sink with bubbles with nurturing yourself. Yeah, so that's where you can find me. And I don't know, you know, I have had people travel to Montana to do photo shoots with me. And if this is something that you think is important and something that you want to do with your mom, I'd love to talk.
That's awesome. I love this. Okay. Well, thank you again for coming on today. I really enjoyed where this conversation went. We kind of talked about all the things. So, if you guys are interested in a boudoir shoot or a glamour shoot or just want to connect with Melissa, I will place those links in the show notes here. So you guys can just head to the show notes and find out more information on her and what she has to offer and how maybe you guys can connect. And again, Melissa, thank you so much. I love this. I love hearing more about just like the inner workings of your brain and like how you work your business and with being a mom and all the stories. And just thank you for sharing and being vulnerable, because I think we need a whole hell of a lot more of that in this world. So I appreciate you.
Well, thank you for giving me the opportunity, because you know I love you and you're so real, and I can't wait for when we meet to do yours someday.
I'm going to come to Montana and we're just going to hang out for a week and just have a ton of fun.
We could do yours with my chickens.
There we go. I'm down for
and the
that.
horses. Awesome. Well, thank you so much. I really, truly appreciate it.